What's up, guys? Alex here with RJ OCD Recovery. Today's topic is all about what to do if you are bothered by the fact that your partner has more sexual experience or a higher number of past partners than you do. This idea is something that bothered me so severely when I was working on myself and overcoming retroactive jealousy, but I'm happy to say that it does not bother me anymore. And if I can do it, you can too. We just have to focus on what's actually fueling this sort of comparison and the jealousy here, getting at the root cause. And when you can find what that is and pull the plug on it, you will find relief. So this idea of comparison around sexual experience is fueled by a fragile self-esteem. And self-esteem is essentially how you are viewing yourself in relation to the subconscious expectations that you are putting on yourself and whether you are hitting or missing those marks. So this can explain why some people get bothered by something like this and other people do not. And it comes down to whether or not the individual in question is making this thing that they're jealous of or that they're comparing about them and how they are viewing their own self. So in this scenario, you are most likely giving some sort of meaning to how much sexual experience you have as a way to view yourself in a positive or negative way. This is all happening inside of you unconsciously. But something will only matter to you significantly if you give it meaning and there's emotional urgency behind it. As I've said before in other videos, there are only two things that influence your quality of life. It's the meaning that you give things and your emotions, and that's it. So by definition, if you give something less meaning and you calm down your emotions that are associated with that thing, you will care about it less. And when you get to this point, when you have given it less meaning, you'll start to recognize on an emotional level that whether you have sex with 1 million people or you're still a virgin, it doesn't mean anything about your value as a person. It doesn't change anything about you. It doesn't change anything about your relationship. And it doesn't change anything about what's happening in this present moment. So what you must start doing is becoming ultra aware of your beliefs and your thoughts and your feelings about sex. What are your perspectives on sex? And what does sex mean about you? What value are you getting out of sex? And what would sex look like in the most ideal scenario to you? After you've become clear on these things, and I would recommend you write those things down so you're extra clear, the next step is figuring out what's the thought underneath those thoughts, or this way of thinking, or these perspectives. What is the emotional motivation for you to be thinking and believing these things? This is the most important step for you to identify because this is what actually is fueling the insecurity. Because you can be interested in one thing and give meaning to one thing, but it can be coming from a positive or a negative place. It can be coming from a place of inspiration or desperation. And if you're feeling jealous about sex and sexual experience with regards to comparing to your partner, it must be coming from a place of desperation. Because on an emotional level, what's really happening is you're resistant to an undesired outcome. And that is fueling the meaning that you're giving sexual experience. I hope this is starting to make more sense here. So you could be equating the number of partners that you've had or details about specific encounters you've had, for example, as a measurement of your enoughness or not enoughness. Or you could be interested in those same things about having a certain number of partners or a certain number of experiences because it's fun, because it's something that you want to do, because you want to embrace all that life has to offer. There's a major, major difference between those two scenarios in the emotional motivation. So it's not about the thing itself, it's about the place that it's coming from. Your attitudes about sex are usually a microcosm about your attitudes on life itself. So my next question for you is, how do you want to feel about life? How do you want to feel about love, sex, and relationships? No one else is making that decision for you. It's all up to you. You have all the power here. If I were you, I would read over all of the ways of thinking that you have about love, sex, and relationships and about sexual experience, and just see if I can reframe the meaning that I'm giving these things. See if I can think higher feeling thoughts about these things. I would choose better feeling thoughts about sex simply because they feel better. That's the whole point, right? That's why you're here. It's because you want to feel good. You want to feel better than you do right now. So if you have negative or scarce beliefs around love, sex, and relationships that are being fueled by you resisting some sort of outcome that you don't want, or some sort of outcome that you're very attached to, then you need to change that, right? That's not sustainable, and it just proves that you're disconnected from abundance. That's what life really should be about. It's about connecting with love and joy and abundance. And instead, we get into these unconscious patterns of making life and making sex about not enoughness, or fear, or anxiety, or anger, or envy, or jealousy, or hatred. So if you're maintaining those negative states, then you're definitely going to be prone to feeling jealous and comparing yourself to your partner and their experience with sex. So what I want you to do is give yourself permission to think and feel as close to abundance with regards to love, sex, and relationships as you possibly can. And keep practicing this way of thinking and feeling. And the more that you do that, the jealousy will dissolve and these old ways of thinking will vanish from your awareness. The more that you become aware of the narrative that you hold in relation to love and sex and sexual experience, the more those things are going to dissolve, because you're going to separate yourself from that story, and then you can settle a bit more into the relationship that you're in. And once you do that, you can make a more informed and inspired decision about whether you want to stay in this relationship that you're in because you love this person, or if you want to go have more sexual experience because that's something that you're inspired to do. Remember, the urgency that you have when it comes to comparing yourself and your sexual experience to your partner's is coming from the fragile self-esteem that you have. You feel like you're not measuring up to the expectations that you're putting on yourself. So when you drop those expectations by becoming more aware of them, you won't feel like you need to do anything desperately. You won't be obsessive about these things anymore. You'll feel calm and relaxed, and you'll feel like you'll be able to be in this present moment with your partner because that's what's actually important and what is most fulfilling. My final word of advice here is to use your emotions as a guide to get to the place where you want to be. If you don't like how a thought feels, then stop thinking that thought and choose a better feeling thought. The more that you do this, the more your experience will change and become more positive, and you're going to feel a lot more love in your life as a result. All right, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you need more help in overcoming retroactive jealousy and OCD, you can sign up for a free call in the description box below, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.